Hey guys, we've noticed that some of you have been watching so much of our content, and we really appreciate it. But we also see that some of you have not subscribed yet, and we just want to let you know that it's free to subscribe. It's free to watch the content that we have. You can watch it at YouTube, you can watch it on Spotify, you can watch it on TikTok, but the place to be is YouTube. Go subscribe, click the bell, let us know you're there, and get ready for the next one. Thank you all. Welcome back to the Unscripted podcast. This is our personal one. Let's get into it.
Yeah. Man, this is new. First thing in the morning.
I know.
Cool. Before everyone else is awake. Still dark outside.
I know. I like it.
It feels like unscripted, you know?
It feels unscripted, but I also think it feels just more of like we're in it.
Yeah, because it's very much a founder thing, right? To like be up before everyone else. Would you just say that's a discipline?
I don't know. I think it's a discipline thing, and we're used to it, right? We're up at 4:15 every morning. You can go to the gym, at 5. So I think it's just what we do in general. So I don't know if it's a founder thing. And man, that's actually something we can actually dive into right now, is like founder energy and what's reality and what's not.
Okay.
Right? Because you hear a lot of people are like, "Oh, you have to have a morning routine. You have to do this. You got to do this. You got to go cold plunge. You got to go do all." There's so many. There's people have
It's overwhelming.
crazy amounts of morning routines. But at the end of the day, right? Before I was a founder, so before I did anything, I was still up. I
Okay.
was still up at 4:35, still going to the gym. Right? I've been doing it for a while now. You've been doing it for a while now. And so I think that sometimes when you become a founder, most people are not getting up at like 4:35 or even maybe 3:30 or 4, because it's like, oh, I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna, do my morning routine and do all my stuff. I think it naturally happens because you naturally need more time.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not enough hours
You
in the day.
need more time in the day. And so what better place to do that than in the morning time, getting up at 4, getting your workout, everything in, and then by like 6:30, you're rocking and rolling, you're ready for the day, and you've already finished a few tasks. And I think that in itself is exactly what founder energy is, right? It's needing more time in a day. And then that's where this like get up early, get your workout in, get your, first task done in the day, and yada 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 yada, whatever however you want to follow that for a morning routine. It really that's honestly why it happens.
Well, and you've always been communicative about like wanting slow mornings and slow evenings.
Yeah.
But in reality, when you're in the trenches, especially, and you're kind of in that grind, you kind of have to pick one. Which one do you want? Do you want a slow morning or do you want a slow evening? You don't often get both. And I think, when we talked to Tyrone this last time, and he was kind of elaborating on when do I reach that plateau and I can kind of go, I can breathe and step away and do some other things. I guess ultimately the goal is to reach that dual slow morning, slow evening, specific situation. But I think right now, like we're in this moment where there's so much momentum, especially on both sides of like how we operate, that you just have to pick one. So we have fast mornings, which is how early can I wake up to get this workout in? And then how quickly can I do the things that are so important to maintaining, the synergy and that consistency. So that way I can get back after the things that I actually have my obligations at an earlier time frame. So that way I can get done earlier in the afternoon, or at least by cutoff time in the afternoon, not having to build or like kind of cut into that slow evening circumstance. And that's just kind of probably where we're both at the moment.
Yeah, 100%, man. Like, one thing that I've been doing is because we've had fast mornings, right? We're up at the gym, we're doing our thing, or you are doing early morning safety meetings, right? Whatever it may be. At night, at 8:00, no more phones, right? Phones are done. I'm off the phone at 8:00, and I noticed that I've been going to sleep earlier.
Really?
Yeah, much better, and I've been sleeping a little deeper as well. And so before I was, I would put on TV and just kind of scroll through or
Doom scroll,
do
yeah.
some tasks or whatever it is. Next thing I know, it's like 10:30, 11 o'clock. And I'm like, okay, now I need to wind down. Oh, crap. But now it's like 8 o'clock, like throw a show on, watch something, kind of just hang out and chill. And then usually by like 9:30, man, I'm dozing off. Before 10, honestly,
Yeah.
you know?
I'm over here like building a ChatGPT like fitness, like, plan and diet plan and all this kind of stuff. And it's like one of the most key important pieces is that you need to be getting 6 to 9 hours of sleep. And I'm like,
I ain't happening tonight.
yeah, I'm not gonna own out to what I'm actually getting. I'm probably like 4.5, maybe realistically like good hours, except for here recently. Like I missed pretty much every single day this week.
Yeah.
What was I there on Monday? Maybe
Monday, yeah.
And then Tuesday I wasn't there. Of course I had safety meeting on Wednesday morning. Hit a pack of wild hogs, by the way, which is pretty
crazy.
It's unavoidable,
Yeah.
We kind of built that into, anyways. So, but yeah, it's just I've noticed that I've been prioritizing getting up and having fast mornings over getting good quality sleep. And it's not a quick thing. It's not overnight, like where you start to see yourself degrade. It's over probably like the next 3 months, 6 months. And you're like worn down and you can't figure out why your body's not operating. Maybe the diet's not sticky and whatever the case is. And so it's been nice to prioritize sleep over just going and having that fast morning, because you feel in some way, shape, or form, the things that you do, the fast morning items that you do before you run into your actual obligations, that there's really for me, I can't not show up to work. I don't have a job that, right? Yeah. So for me, it's almost one of those situations where I have to have a fast morning and I have to get those things that I really need to get done before the obligation. But now I've noticed that it's melding together to where my fast morning items that I need to get done feel like an obligation. And so I prioritize it over my mental health or my sleep patterns or whatever the case is. And that's just, there's no longevity in it.
Not at all. And I, one thing I absolutely hate are like all the gurus that are online, and they're telling you that you have to have all these things in order to be successful, which is really not true in its essence, right? Like, because if you're not a morning person and everybody has like the most productive times of the day. Like my productive time is usually probably around 6 to 9:30.
It feels
6 to 9:30, 6 to 10 is like I am massively productive, right? From 10 to about 2, I'm usually always in meetings. That's some capacity, right? And then from like 2 to like 4, I might get some crap done. After 4, dude, I'm out.
Yeah.
Right.
Usually sleeping, I think.
Yeah. Sleeping, doing something at that point.
Old man stuff.
Exactly. Old man stuff. And so, but with people that are like, well, what do I do? How do I get more time in my day? Or what am I actually supposed to be doing? Right. It doesn't matter. Right. Whatever's productive for you. If you're a night owl, then push everything to the night. Right. And it doesn't matter. Right. You don't have to have a morning routine. You don't need to work out at 5 a.m. You don't need to do any of that, because there's plenty of people that are successful that actually aren't doing that, right? Or literally wake up and they open a laptop, right? That's your thing, whatever, I don't care. Right? Just do something, right? Something every day that pushes you towards a goal that you have, right? Because momentum creates activity, and activity produces. And so that's ultimately what anybody really needs, is to be able to do that, is just to create momentum activity.
So like breaking this like founder stigma, so to speak, or like stereotype that you know.
Well, yeah, because I mean, you hear them, right? You hear of the founder energy, and not even the founder. You hear about the founders that have billion-dollar exits, and you have the founders that have multi-billion-dollar exits, and they tell you, well, this is what I did. Stop, right? Stop listening to billionaires about what you should be doing on a daily basis, right? Stop listening to centimillionaires about what you need to do. You are not even at that level. 0% at that level. If you do what they did, it would not make you a billionaire still, right? Like it just won't.
Yeah, because they were occupying a new space or a new.
They're occupying new space. It was the right time at the right moment.
Mhm.
I mean, there's so much that has to align for these companies to come up and make things happen to get to that scale, right? And a lot of it is it's the right moment, right time, right idea, right execution, all coming together at one point, right? Which makes something build momentum that freaking quick, right?
Yeah, because I've noticed, and I'm not going to name names or anything. There's a couple of people that I know of online, personally, actually. But like, I've noticed, think about Elon. It's like, that Elon like slept at SpaceX, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like required like X number of hours out of his people and type of like performance out of his people and his team in order to build what is ultimately like this groundbreaking
Hmm.
company. But everybody goes and they adopt like his mentality and they're like, oh, I'm going to sleep at my office. And that's cool. Like you're like building this story on LinkedIn or like building this story on social media. And I'm not knocking anybody, but like you get this traction, but there is a point where like you push it just a little too far, where then you just become that guy or that girl that's
And
just like, you know what I mean?
at
Like,
the end of the day, people don't know why he did it, right? People are thinking, oh, he does it because that is just his energy. No, the reason why he was sleeping at his office is because they were having massive production issues. And the only way that he could turn it around was to be there 24/7, to have his eyes on it, to be sure that it wasn't there, right? To be sure that he can get rid of the cancer that was plaguing his production,
mm,
right? I'm sorry, but your task app doesn't have that big of an issue.
no, well, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Your vibe coded whatever doesn't have that issue.
Yeah. Well, and I guess it looks impressive and it looks,
It looks, and that's what everybody's obsessed with.
well, and I guess if
Perception.
you're like standing in front of an investor, like I said, I've been watching We Crashed and, when he, oh man, I think it's SoftBank. I think when he was with,
Oh
I
yeah,
I don't know what that guy's name,
yeah. I know you're talking about. Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about. And like, there's a part of We Crashed, and again, I know there's
a lot of yep.
right hype up on it and that sort of thing, but like he said, you're not crazy enough, and like Adam Newman was like, okay, I'm going to go an extra level. Well, that's what it's like if you're standing in front of an investor that's like looking for some sort of return or looking for some sort of what is the word for that? Is it semantics?
Basic, I
No,
guess.
is that not the word? Theatrics.
Theatrics, yeah. That's
Looking for theatrics in some way, shape, or form that's creating buzz on X or LinkedIn
yeah.
or all these different Reddit, whatever the case is, then I guess. But you're right. If you're building this task app, it doesn't really require you to sleep there, but you're going to post yourself, sleeping at your office and or doing whatever it takes, and it's I don't know.
Well, right, and people don't. People have this idea that like, well, Elon's running two, three publicly traded companies, two publicly traded companies, and this and that. It's like he runs like seven businesses, and like I can push my startups. I mean, yeah, you can, but you're just not at that level, right? Like if we're really thinking about it, how Elon got wealthy was one thing, right? Which was Zipcash, right? Which then merged. It wasn't Zipcash. It was Zip something that merged with another company that became PayPal.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that's how PayPal came out.
Did not know that.
Elon Musk is one of the original founders of PayPal, right? And so PayPal came about, and then they sold that for a god awful amount of money,
Yeah.
right? He took his $180 million cut that he got, and he went and started. He put the money into SpaceX and Tesla,
Interesting.
right?
Okay.
The story on mine is he put all his money out, then he had to borrow money from his mother for his rent. Doubt it, but it gives you the idea of what he's doing, right? Tesla almost went bankrupt a couple times. So does SpaceX,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're on the brink of bankruptcy multiple times, trying to get investor money to do what they do today. And so, but at the end of the day, it's where can I put the most focus that has the biggest uplift, right? And that can look two different ways, right? It could be the biggest uplift with the less amount of energy, right? Which obviously gives you the return that you need for an immediate momentum, right? So that could be us going after advertisers for easy money, right? Or it could be a longer game where it's going, well, we want to play a long game. We just don't want we don't want people on board just for the sake of people on board for money, right? So what would we do? Well, we kind of elongate that out a little bit more and say, we're going to work on this thing that we have until it produces the value that an advertiser would benefit from, right? Because if it does not produce any value, then it's going to be a short-term play, right? The bigger the value, the better the play, and the bigger the value, the longer the play.
Yeah.
Right. And that's ultimately what we want is the long game here. We don't want the short game, right? At the end of the day, there are short-term gains that you can have, right? That have the least amount of effort, and the largest kind of uplift. What we call in the industries, low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
Right?
Virality. Yeah.
Virality, low-hanging fruit. What can we do today to make the most impact, right? So how does this look in practice for somebody that has an HVAC business, right? Well, it could be implementing a subscription, right? Where you create a subscription for your customers that gives them priority scheduling. It gives them, a yearly, it gives them like I don't know, what is it? A yearly, what was it when you come out and you check things out?
Like inspection?
Yeah, a yearly inspection, or then or whatever, or if you create a package that has subscription attached to it, and then you sell that to your existing customer base, and that's an easy uplift because it took you 2 hours to make the subscription, right? Then you sell it through, and that's an easy uplift in sales and gets you recurring revenue.
Yeah.
And so that's in practice, right? But okay, what does it look like for somebody that's like a SaaS founder, right? Or a tech founder, or even another podcatcher? Like what does it look like? Well, it look like in a few different ways. One would be like if you're a SaaS founder, right? Get your product out, stop making it pretty, and just get it out there and get user feedback, right?
MVPs.
Right. Exactly. Get the MVP out as fast as possible. Get user feedback, right? And then iterate based on user feedback, not based on what you think users need, right?
Like A and B testing and that sort of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Microsoft's notorious for this BS.
Yeah.
Right. They push stuff out the way that they think it should be, and then in practice, it just doesn't work the way you think it does, right? And they're notorious for this. And I am hard pressed that it's probably part of their strategy at this point, right? But and then okay, well, what are they looking for the podcaster, right? What if there's a podcaster, in Tyler, Texas, or Podunk Town, Virginia, that's going, well, I want to start. What do they do?
To all of our Virginia fans, we're not fans, I guess, audience.
Yeah, but to all our Virginia fans, y'all have some small freaking towns, and there is probably something called Podunk Town.
There probably is. There's probably something like that in Texas here too.
That doesn't surprise me, honestly.
Yeah.
It just doesn't. But what can they do? Like, what does a new podcaster do, right? We've been through this, right? Well, the easiest uplift is go find a list somewhere and start emailing the heck out of that list to get people onto your podcast, right? On the flip side, if that's not you, well, what do? Get in front of the microphone and start talking about something, right? Whatever niche you have that you are an expert in, or you have the most knowledge about that you think you can teach somebody about, get in front and do that thing. The biggest issue with podcasters today that I have seen is they get in front of the camera and they don't know what they're talking about, and you can see it through the lens.
Yeah.
Right. You can't, I'm not going to get on a podcast and go talk about safety. Ain't no way. I'm gonna screw it up.
Maybe.
I have no idea. What I could do is go spend 3 hours on Chat GPT and learn the talking points to it and talk really well to it.
Yeah.
Right. I had a guy the other day. And so in my consulting business, I just signed a client yesterday, in consulting. And the one thing he asked me, he texted me and he was like, "Hey, can you also do like Teams phone like implementation?" Like, he goes, "How much do you know about Teams phone?" And I was like, "Very little, enough to talk about it, not enough to implement." And he goes, "Thanks for your honest answer, man." Right? But that's it. A lot of people go, "I know enough to talk about it. I want to go in and do it." Right? But then what happens is you do a shoddy job because you actually don't know what the heck you're doing.
Well, yeah, and somewhere along the lines, it's falling short, in some way, shape, or form, and you start reverting to the um, what's a good word for this without like really bashing? You resort to like the tacky option of back to virality,
Mhm.
back to everything that is like this instant fix, or this. I don't know. I feel like it just has kind of like the least impact on like real life, real things that you go through, and not to put other podcasts on blast and that sort of thing. If you're
I don't know about
if you're
because I
going
need it.
through virality, that's great, but when I watch your stuff at 10:30 at night when I should be asleep, it's not because I'm like getting real value. It's because I'm bored. You know what I mean? Like, or
But yeah, that's true. But it's working to some extent, right?
oh yeah, of course.
And so, like,
We've always thought about what's the real impact of what we're doing here, which is why not knowing what the end result of what Unscripted is a good thing.
it is.
Some people look at it and go, well, then you're just not doing, the right research or education to know where like the end point looks like. No, I think realistically, just again,
We don't have a summit that we're trying to climb, right? And so, like, we know. So I think there's a very big difference between trying to climb this summit that you created inside your head, or that a founder has created inside their head, versus having a plan to like profitability.
Yeah.
Right. There's a big difference. Right. One is creating this false narrative that's in your head that when you get there, it will never be enough for you. Right. Because you need you need the next summit. You need the next summit. You need the next one, versus somebody that has a plan that goes, okay, like, we've been doing this for so long. How do we get to like profitability, and how do we actually turn a page to say, okay, hey, this is going to be something that is an income stream now, not just a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
Once you flip that switch, now that's the biggest difference, is you have a plan to get to where you need to go, and then you're following that plan, versus somebody that is just trekking this summit, right? And usually if they're trekking this summit, it has to do with one or two things: clout or money.
Yeah.
Right? And some way, shape, or form. And you can break that down any way you want to, right? It can be broken down into, well, I'm not looking for clout, right? I just need to be able to get the reach that I need so I can, so that way we can, well, it's clout. It falls under the category still, right? And so I don't, people need to stop kidding themselves on what they're actually wanting and just get real about it.
Yeah.
Right. And then they'll be in a better place, because nobody actually wants to admit where their baseline faults are. And if they actually understood where their baseline faults were, then now they have a baseline to go from. Okay, I really suck at this. Okay, great. Now I know where to learn from.
Yeah.
Right. And instead of just like always acting as if, right, faking it until you make it. Right. That's a false narrative that most people are putting inside their heads that they'll never actually live up to. And that's why they're thinking to themselves at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, I should be farther in life than where I am right now, is because they're creating this false hope within themselves.
Well, and how long can you maintain your shape as a
Yeah,
piece? You can't. That's important.
yeah.
Because like if you're going for like real impact, if you're like going for the off the beaten path approach to like creating something really new, like what's new about us? Like what's new about what we do here? There's like
Right.
there's like thousands, millions that talk about
Right.
founders and entrepreneurs and origin stories, whatever the case is. So we're not in like a new niche, you know what I mean? This is so like what makes us new, and I think that's kind of always a question. But I think You think about like Apple,
Mm-hmm.
think about Google, you think about anyone, Tesla, you think about uh, Elon and that sort of thing. I think what they show us, what a lot of individuals in those positions show us, is that they maintain their cog piece for a long period of time,
Mm-hmm.
and that spins and never catches gear for days, months,
Yeah.
weeks, years, a decade, whatever, whatever. The 12, what's 12 years?
12 years?
Yeah. And they're like a word for that.
Oh, I think it's just a 10 is a decade.
Okay, there you go. Oh yeah, a decade. So a decade. And you're just like waiting for that to like sink in and catch up.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually when it does, like you're that gear and then everyone else is kind of paying attention and they start to like build off of that. You see that off of personalities off of TikTok and YouTube shorts and stuff like that, where someone talks just a little different and you look at it and you're like, man, this guy's annoying. And you put your phone down.
Mm-hmm.
And then for the next 6 months, you're like, man, this guy's annoying. And then you look at the 7th month and this guy's like, you see all these other influencers talking just like this guy. Because like his cog piece like caught and sunk in and like he's now the traction. I think I talked about that maybe a couple episodes again about the whole Call of Duty theory and stuff like that, like running for where the red dots are. But like I think that's what's important, and that's where you can either look at a cog piece and just mirror that and sink into the same gear that someone else is in, or you keep yourself identifiably different for long enough that it becomes a popular opinion or a popular idea.
I think that's, I think the latter is harder, right?
1,000%.
Because it's easier to act like somebody else and people, to attract to that quickly versus like going, arching your own path, to who you are and what you want to do and how you want to do it, right? And that's kind of what we were just talking about, right? Was, okay, I short term this works, but long term we're screwed, right? Because long term you're like everybody else and people are going to get tired of that, right? And they're going to go off with somebody else that's different, right? Versus, the same path you have, the same path. Oh, this mic. The same path you have right here.
We're going to get an assistant,
right?
Just to,
and anytime to just like hold this up.
and then one of those black suits or green.
Yeah. Just hold this up for me, please.
With no face to the God, dude.
So you
not even have a green screen, just a green suited guy there.
You just have like this, this path that you're going here that's short term that you get to your goal very quickly. Where you have this one right here, you get to the same goal, right? But one takes a little bit longer to be able to get to versus one that has a short term gain. And so, but the one that's going to take longer is going to give you more sustainability because now you have a track record, right? Track records matter no matter where you are, right? Track record matters. And so, and honestly, that is why there's experts in the world today, is because they have track records.
Well, and if you build your lane, not someone else's lane, but if you stick to your lane, ultimately, if it catches and if it becomes something of popular opinion or sought after, whatever the case is, you can't be silenced in your own lane. Like, believe it or not, there's companies out there that can come in and occupy your lane and maybe even do it bigger and larger than you can. That's just in history we see that, right? And even in founding and entrepreneurial aspects. But take Joe Rogan for instance. Joe Rogan can jump on there. I don't even know if Joe Rogan could be canceled at this because his lane is so identifiably his lane. How do you silence something that he doesn't care if you're saying anything or not?
That's true.
So he just keeps going. He just keeps going and keeps doing. How do you get canceled for that? You can't. Really, only you can get canceled, in my opinion, from occupying a space that has already been pioneered and there's way too many options out there. But there's no one out there podcasting like
Joe Rogan. Yeah, that's true. And that,
not to that same extent,
the level
the
that
freedom that he's got.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is, right? Like he's been doing it for so long. He's been talking this way for so long, and people just know that freaking Joe Rogan. Do people hate him? 100%.
Well,
people love him. Yes, I think more people love him than more people hate him.
Absolutely. I mean, and the same Joe Rogan that you see on his podcast is the same Joe Rogan you saw on X Factor.
Exactly.
And that you see announcing, like he says the same stuff. So it's his identity is just him. He just brought it behind a table and he's just talking to people. So like you can't be silenced for doing something like that. But that's like you're saying, the long game. That's that long game. he wasn't in podcasting that entire time. He was announcing for what, 10, 12 years. And, he was doing X Factor for 8 years.
Yeah, whatever long it was.
And whatever he was doing before that, he was training and like building this rapport with, jujitsu. I think it was jujitsu and different stuff like that, MMA. And so like you see him now, and again, that goes back to like that mountain mentality where you see the mountain everyone's standing on, but you don't see the valley and behind.
Right.
But that's identifiably his lane, and the longevity and the impact that has. Believe, and I feel confident saying this, as much as he's impacted other people, he's impacted himself more. And that's what keeps him strong. He can step behind the mic, and this is not the Joe Rogan conversation, but he can step behind the mic and go, this is what I love. This is what I enjoy doing. I don't know him from Adam, so if it stopped generating money, maybe he would stop. I don't know. I think he would keep going.
Yeah.
I think it's just a part of his DNA.
What he likes to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think that's a very important piece to kind of end on. Go and that is from the podcast. But
DNA.
Yeah, DNA and what that means to you, and how can you be a version of yourself that never changes. So
that would be let's
it doesn't matter.
Let's dive that into another conversation.
Love it, brother.
What do you want to end us out on a CTA?
Awesome. Hey guys, follow my course.
Stop. Just stop, dude. What's the course name?
Huh?
For everyone listening, what's the course name?
Huh?
Keep talking about the course.
Build like Michael.
Build like Michael.
Build like Michael.
So no, that's actually not bad.
I know, but it's real.
It's not real.
I know. Hey, check us out, all platforms, YouTube, TikTok, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, your mom's house, wherever. We're there all the time.
Every iPad.
Check it out. iPads everywhere. Thank you.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Android over iOS. So
what?